What's up, guys? Palmer Aquatics here. I know it's been a while. I apologize. I haven't been doing as many live streams, but I've been super busy working out in the shop. And spring is here, and it's just awesome to be able to work outside and not have it be freezing cold. And I'm getting a ton done. There's gonna be updates coming very, very soon. I'm so jacked. So, the first one here was Michigan Aquatics. Michigan Aquatics wins the award for the first person here. All right, so let's bring up the chat. Tonight's topic, this is kind of just a, I was searching for topics like right as I was clicking go live, and I happened to get a notification for somebody leaving a negative comment, which never happens on YouTube, right? Someone left a negative comment and they were like, hey man, you don't know what you're talking about as far as heaters. 2 heaters is way less efficient than using 1 heater. So I figured we would kind of hash this out tonight. So it's like, to be completely honest with you, I don't know the answer here. If running multiple heaters is more efficient than 1 heater, but I figured, we could just hash it out together and talk about the different variables and what is happening in a fish tank here. So, because that's what I love doing, is just talking about fish tanks. Yeah. All right, I want to bring up the chat here. Who is all here? Make sure I have my volume muted. The fish are doing great here in the fish room. I haven't lost any fish in quite some time. I do have a black skirt tetra. Something is going on with its eye. I think one of maybe the tiger barbs kind of nipped at its eye. I really don't know what happened, but I'm keeping an eye on it. It doesn't look that bad right now. It's just a little bit swollen. All right, so I am bringing up the chat. Ooh, we got some people in the house. All right, so Michigan Aquatics was the first here. He says, hey, Jamie McDonald, hello. James Conrad, hey. Felix Spinks, hey. I think he's given the fist bump emoji. What's up, brother? Ken says, hey, dude. I was first, says Nicholas Muhammad. I don't know, man. Michigan Aquatics is probably first. Trevor Bulger says, what's up? Naturally Lochi says, finally another live stream I could catch. Yes, and I apologize. I've been so busy, guys. I promise there's going to be more of them. And Bierski, I see you're in the house. I apologize about... I'm trying to download that video, and it'd be cool to do a super cool, just like I'd like to do a showcase video on your piranha setup on my channel, and maybe it could help bring people to your channel too. So, Bierski has probably, he's a subscriber, has probably one of the nicest piranha setups I've ever seen, and it deserves a little bit. My piranha setup is a joke, and he deserves the credit, and I want to do a video showcasing it. So, can I borrow some Pringles? I don't have any Pringles. Dylan Martin says, very good debate. I guess we could just jump right into it. So, there's a bunch of people here. It's growing. By the way, Bierski, I'm going to send you, you got to hit me up your address. I will send you out the Inkbird controller. I'm not going to use it, to be completely honest with you. And it's cool that I can give back to some of the subscribers, and I'll ship this to you. I also want to showcase the video, so I don't know what's going on, how we're going to get it here. I know that you sent it to me in Google Drive. We'll have to see if that works. So, what did I win? Laugh out loud. You haven't won anything yet, Michigan Aquatics. All right, guys. So the topic tonight, the ever so famous argument of running multiple heaters versus 1 larger heater. So let me grab some heaters. All right. So here is a very common, very popular seller right now, the Ehime Jaeger, however you want to say it. This is a 300 watt heater. As you can see, it's ginormous. This is my favorite heater on the planet. I love it, but not everyone has this heater or wants to buy it. If you're looking for a heater to buy, I'll throw a link in the description box. The Ehime heaters, I preach and preach and preach. Everyone that messages me, asking me, I always send them to these ones. It just seems that, and no, I'm not sponsored by these guys. This isn't a free heater or anything. What I did was I tested these heaters, and what's happening is they're using less power consumption because they're ginormous, and they're also ginormous, so they're heating extremely well. And it's, once you use one of these things, you're not gonna look back. But you gotta be careful, because if you get it's perfectly fine to get a 300 watt heater for maybe like a smaller tank, like a 55 or something, but you wanna make sure you get a heater controller. This has a built-in thermostat, but sometimes these things fail. Whereas you can have this thermostat mixed with also the heater controller. I wish they'd call these things like auxiliary thermostats, because it would be, a lot of people don't know what heater controllers are. So it would have been smarter to call the heater controller a auxiliary or a secondary thermostat. All right, so I'm starting to heat up already. It's getting heated. All right, so the argument is one heater versus two smaller heaters. And these are two 150s. And I guess me holding the heaters really doesn't really do much, but it's just to kind of give you guys a visual aid of what is going on. So let's hit up the chat. What do some of you guys got to let me know what you think is more effective? When people ask me on what I think, I always tell people multiple heaters is better, because there's multiple reasons I tell people this. Because number one, the heaters can work together and kind of battle out heating the water together, essentially, instead of one heater doing it by itself. But the argument is there a power, like if you have two 150 watt heaters working together, is one of them, are they both clicking on and clicking off and not utilize, or I should say wasting energy, essentially, because maybe their thermostats, there's an efficiency issue to where one of the heater's thermostat should shut off, but it hasn't, and then the other one kicks on, and then the failure in between there, or the voided, I don't really know how to explain it, but there's an efficiency deal that could happen. Or the variables I can think of why multiple heaters is better, because it's more spread out in the tank, number one. And with water flow, you could put two heaters in, say if you have a longer tank, you could put two heaters in each corner. And I've even had people put 3 heaters in a tank. You could put one on the side, you could put one on the other side, and one in the middle. And with water flow, I feel like it's more efficient. But you know, it could also be more inefficient when using more wattage. There's just I'm not a scientist, but it's worth talking about, because a lot of people are wondering if it's more efficient. All right, so I want to ask somebody, or I want to see what you guys have to say. Redundancy and better distribution of heat with multiple heaters, says Bierski. Yeah, I'm under the multiple heater idea as well too, but a lot of people have been commenting that one heater they feel is more efficient. Ken says, I would go with 2 smaller ones with a heater controller. Yes, and it's really cool because the heater controller comes with 2, it's almost like they know that you want to run 2 heaters, because it comes with a dual plug-in outlet. And I already did a video on this. I'm giving this away, by the way. I did a kind of unboxing and review of this. And see, it comes with a dual plug-in. And essentially this is just like an auxiliary thermostat. It's a hot mess of wires though. I'm telling you, that's one thing I hate about heater controllers. It's like you gotta set this up, and it's like, that's one thing about fish tanks that people complain a lot to me about. They're like, holy crap, there's like a million wires. Chris has lost it, he's battling heaters now. Michigan Aquatic says, I use one heater and it works fine. How about this, Michigan Aquatics? What if you had a 6-foot tank, or no, I'm gonna create a scenario to where maybe your one heater, because I think you just have one 55-gallon tank. How about you have a 10-foot long 200-gallon tank? Are you going to be using one heater? Because it seems like when you have multiple tanks or really large tanks, you really dive into the science of heaters, because all of a sudden you get your electric bill and you're like, you know what happened? I have it's very common for my electric bills to be $300 to $500 in the wintertime. Okay, Aquatic says, I am trying to get my heaters out of the tanks and heat the room instead. Yes, if you can find a way to heat your room, I highly advise it. But I tell you what, even though I heat this room, I just said even like 19 times. Even though I heat this room, I still have to use heaters because sometimes when tanks are on the floor, when they're on the concrete, it really steals the heat out of them. Naturally, Lochi says, let's say my heater goes out for the larger tank. I could keep cool water fish. Yes, like an axolotl, goldfish, white clouds. There's a lot of cool... I'm heating up, dude. I've been outside like all day today, and it's 37 degrees, which is pretty warm in Minnesota, but when I came back in here and went to 80 degrees in the fish room, I'm like, I'm dying, I'm sweating. I use one heater in my 120, comes on every couple hours. Yeah, another variable here to think about is what is your room temperature? You know, because a lot of heaters are different. You know, some heaters work differently based on your room temperature. A lot of people don't know that. It's in the fine print when you buy your heater. Desmond Barnes says, I have one 300 watt Ehime in a 5-foot 100 gallon tank. Yeah, and some of you guys live down south to where, you know, it's a totally different ball game as far as heating tanks. Like in Minnesota, in the wintertime, we keep our houses right around 76 to 79 degrees Fahrenheit, and some people go all the way down. I have friends that keep their house at 63 degrees in the wintertime. You know, it really depends who you are, and especially if you have your tanks in a basement. It can get pretty cold in the basement, and you get draft, and it's, you know, I'm trying to think of the variables here, guys. I want to dive deep into this. The variables, I would say the biggest variables with heaters. How much do your tanks have water movement? Because if you have a tank with a canister filter and the water's constantly being moved around, then you're going to have an easier time heating the tank. Whereas if you're only running sponge filters like a lot of my tanks are, the water's more stagnant, and like a lot of South American calm tanks have problem. You know, it's less efficient to heat it because it's, you know, if I were to just put a heater in one side of a 6-foot tank where I'm only using sponge filters, it's going to be pretty hard to move that heat the whole length of that tank. And some people claim that putting the heater, I also have a video on heater placement. You know, like if you're putting the heater sideways in your tank or at an angle, or there's so many different variables. I'm just trying to think. I think at the end of the day, I like multiple heaters better because that way, list of variables here. If one of your heaters fails, the other one makes up for it. And I like using multiple small heaters. That way, vice versa, if one of the heaters sticks on, it can't boil your tank and cook your fish. And that's 2 reasons already. And what else is there? You can spread out the water or the heat capacity, or like how am I trying to explain this? The distribution of heat, I think, is what Bierski phrased it as. So that's 3 reasons. What else is there? How about negatives though? I can think of a negative. If you got 3 heaters in your tank, it looks hideous. And another negative is it just more efficient to have one larger heater kick on and do the source of heating by itself, because that way you're not having a loss of energy. I don't know, it's really, I honestly don't have the answer, but I think it'd be a cool topic to debate. So I think better brand heaters are more reliable as an only heater. Yes, so that's also what I tell people, like, because I have buckets full of cheap heaters, and they'll commonly ask me, hey, do you have heaters? And I'm like, yeah, I would run multiple crappier heaters, or you can buy one solid large heater, maybe with a controller. That's a very good point, by the way. Who said that? Oh, the Novice Aquarius said that, yes. Side note, I love my Penguin 400, says Rich Johns. Yes. Dude, the Penguin 400 is a very underrated. It's really rewarding when people reach out to me and they're like, hey man, I love the Penguin filters. I didn't follow all the fluff on Aqua Clears. I love them. I've been running them. And if you complain that the bio wheel stops spinning, it's like you can get the Emperor 400, which has a spray bar at the bio wheel, and it never stops spinning. And it's so effective, and it's cheap. It's half the price of an Aqua Clear. So Cichlids23 says, what's up, dude? Rich John says, I keep my house at 73, but my tanks are 68 without a heater. Rich, what I would tell you is this is a problem. I figured out the issue too. If you get really tight sealed lids, it really conceals the temperature, and a lot of people don't know this. And if you can use polycarbonate as a tank lid, it's like a layered acrylic. It's polycarbonate is a cheap form of like acrylic, and it's really thin, but it's closed in. It's like I can't speak. It's insulated essentially, and it works tremendously for heating your tank. And I noticed that whatever I keep my room temperature at, when my tanks are a couple degrees warmer than what I keep my room temperature at, which is amazing if you can insulate your tank like that. Most times when running more than one heater does most of the work, says Terry. That's a, how do you know that though? There was an episode on, what was it? The Aquarium podcast where, shout out to Aquarium podcast. It's a great podcast. There's an episode where this guy talks about dissecting aquarium heaters, and it was fascinating. He talked about, he figured out that even some of the new top-of-the-line heaters are still struggling and failing. And what he did was he ran a computer program to where it sent all the data to an email, and it was a brilliant idea. I wish I was this smart. But what he was doing is logging every tank's heater and like analyzing the data. And some of the, I'm not gonna spot off any names, but you can check out the episode. And there was he put out some names out there of some new heaters that were supposed to be really good that he thought were not good, and they were failing on him. And he was taking them apart. It was brilliant. But the whole fact of heaters, they're fascinating, and the idea of, I know it's really geeky stuff, but I absolutely love this kind of fish talk. So I don't need a computer program. I can look at the red light. Okay, here you go, Terry. Terry's Tropical Tanks, by the way. How about this? What about, is that red light coming on for the, why is that one heater coming on before? Is it because the thermostat is set lower, or is it at a spot in the tank that tends to be a little colder? I guess I'm just asking questions, and that's a great analysis. I had never thought of one heater doing more of the work than the other, because and the question is, do you set it, when you have multiple heaters, do you set the thermostats all at the same setting, or do you set one lower in the idea of one heater doing most of the work? I usually set them at the same and spread them out in the tank, but I can see there's just so many variables to it. So what are those plants in your tank called, and do they require CO2? These plants in here are completely fake. All my plants are fake. I have some videos on my favorite fake plants. You can hit up YouTube search and type in fake aquarium plants, and I think my video probably comes up, and I talk about my favorite plants, fake plants that look really good in tanks, because when you keep cichlids, it's almost impossible to have live plants stay alive with cichlids because they just tear them to shreds. So no CO2 for the fake plants, no. But guys, I'm setting up a live planted tank right here, and I'm gonna be doing a little video showcase on it, but I don't want to give it up. I actually have the light on this tank right here, and it's a It's a current light. I really am obsessed with the new current lights. So I'm not on the Fluval 3.0 bandwagon, even though I do have one. All right, what did Bierski say? Because people are saying, good point, Bierski. All right, Bierski. He says, DIY inline heating is a great way to get best distribution and efficiency, not to mention the equipment in the tank. Yes, are you saying like inline heating, like in a sump tank? If you have a sump, that's a brilliant idea. If you don't have a sump though, you know, because I feel like a lot of people don't have sumps in their showcase tank at their house because they're afraid. A lot of people are afraid of sumps because of flooding. And it's that next level kind of, maybe you have to have a tank in your basement to where you're not afraid to flood. It is what it is. But yes, no matter what, when it comes to heaters, like Bierski's saying, have it, if you can have your heater in the best place to where it can be getting constant movement, water movement across the heater, it's going to be more efficient. All right, guys, I think I'm gonna wrap this up. I know this wasn't much, and I know I should hang out longer, but I've just been so busy. I promise I'm going to be doing more videos and live streams here soon. I gotta get back out in that shop. I'm building a wall. I'm insulating. It's all coming together. I want to let you guys know I'm still alive. There's gonna be some videos coming, updates. I apologize to all of you guys that are waiting on the uploads to happen. There's some cool videos coming on the OB Peacock. Some fancy goldfish from Angry Fish Sales. There's tons and tons of videos that I have in queue, and I promise it's coming. I'm build the wall. Yeah, I built a wall down the middle of my shop. I'm insulating it, and it's a lot of work. So, but I can't let it stop me. I'm gonna be running drains soon on the wall. Remember, he promises, nobody forget. Yes, I promise you. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out on talking about multiple heaters versus one. Let me know what you think in the comment section, because I'm dying to push my brain with what you think is more efficient, and I'm still under the circumstance that multiple heaters is more efficient. But it kind of depends your scenario. So I guess we kind of talked about that. Thanks, Chris. It's good to see you. Excited to get your wall. Very inspired. Yes, I called my dad and I was like, Dad, I need help building a wall. I need tools, because he's a plumber contractor by trade, and he helps me so much. Shout out to him. And he's like, building a wall? He's like, you called the wrong guy. You got to talk to Trump here, man. I don't know. It's not really that funny, but yeah. All right, guys. Michigan Aquatics has got to go to bed, got to go to school. Yes. All right, guys, I will see you later. Watch for the next uploads. Check out the podcast. You can like my Facebook page, Palmer Aquatics. I've been making a bunch of crazy memes lately. It's not very efficient, but I've been obsessed with making memes lately because they're hilarious. Toad Load says, build the wall. The wall's built. I just got to insulate it. Trump wall. All right, guys, take it easy and keep on keeping fish. End stream. Sounds like my daddy's a smart ass.